Oh no. There we go. All right. So I know what you guys are wondering. Why are we doing a stream on a Saturday? Is it because John Jones just got retired from the UFC and now Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight undisputed champion of the world? No, that's not why we're here. It almost was, but it's not. I went upstairs to go celebrate the fact that John Jones got retired by Tom Aspinall. My brother tells me we just bombed Iran. So we're here. So I get on Truth Social. I don't have an account. I'm using the public feature because they're cool like that. Some social medias you have to be logged in to see the post, and they're just stingy as fuck with the information. Truth Social is not like that. They let me see all this stuff for free. I ripped this off the internet. I got this off of Axios. All right. There's a fly flying around, dude. I left the door open for like 10 minutes early. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go inside, use the bathroom. Dude, I'm getting bit up by mosquitoes. There's a fly right there. I live, we have acres. There's bugs. So if you guys see me moving around, all right, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I might have a tick. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not just flailing my arms on some short bus shit. There's flies flying around. There's one fly, but it feels like there's 10. Okay, let's get to it. We bombed Iran. So I get on Truth Social. This is Trump's post, word for word. We have completed a very successful attack on the three nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Those are the three biggest nuclear facilities. Fordow is the one that's basically, you guys have heard that Iran's enriching uranium, and they've enriched uranium up to 60%, which is way past what they need for, let's just for civilian use. Okay, that's at Fordo. It's the number one kind of facility. So he said a full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site in Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. It was an in and out mission. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. And then Trump says in capital letters, now it's time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This just came out about an hour and a half ago. All right. Trump's also posted that he's going to be speaking at 10 p.m. Eastern time. He said, I'll be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. Eastern time at the White House regarding our very successful mission operation in Iran. He said, this is a historic moment for the United States of America, Israel, and the world. I love this channel. I love YouTube. Don't take my account down. Iran must now agree to end this war. Thank you. That's what Trump just said. Iran must agree to end this war as if Israel didn't strike them first. I'm having a hard time following what kind of information Trump's getting. This kind of feels like Bush. This kind of feels like Bush 2.0. So I wrote a pretty concise article here that kind of breaks down what exactly just happened and why the fuck did we just do this now and what are the implications on the US and let's just say like on Trump politically because this will have political ramifications. I, as somebody that voted for Donald Trump, did not vote for this. We wrote a whole article on our website that's still available under the analysis tab called The Big Beautiful Scam. This is before Elon Musk got ousted from the White House. Every single promise that Trump made, whether it was to deport millions of people, whether it was to not start another forever war, not to get involved in needless geopolitical problems in the Middle East on the behalf of another government, to root out government corruption, to root out fraud and waste and abuse in the government, and kind of reduce the overall clump and the bureaucracy. None of these things fucking happened. Where's the Epstein files? What the fuck, dude? We voted for not a single thing that we voted except the border is closed. But also, there's probably really good. There's like the next Einstein probably sitting at the border too. We haven't adjusted our immigration policy in any way, shape, or form, besides just shutting down the border all the way to zero, which really isn't that hard. It's kind of the first thing you do on the job. Anyways, promises made, promises not kept. Let's talk about Iran's. Let's talk about the strike on Iran's nuclear facility. Now, I guess for context here, let me show you guys a quick map of how far away these things are. Because in order to bomb all of these facilities on the same mission, this has to be extremely coordinated. Iran is a big fucking place. I just said like Iran is probably I don't know, say double the size of Iraq, maybe double the size of Iraq, double the size of Afghanistan, maybe 2.5 times. Iran's a big fucking country. And it's very mountainous terrain, and a lot of these facilities are actually hidden underneath mountains, which is why Israel couldn't reach them. They had to get the US's help because the US has those what they call bunker busters, which are bombs that can basically go to these very, very specific locations that are very hard to reach, that are underground and so surface level. Those surface level bombs, they don't do any damage. So you're gonna have to get something a little bit more serious. I think the US military is one of the only militaries in the world that has those bunker busters. And so Israel kind of needed us to kind of go in there and do this thing. We can talk about the reasons for the strikes in a bit. So here's Fordo. This is the largest the largest nuclear enrichment plant. We have Natanz right here, and then we have Isfahan. They kind of look, I mean, it's a small map over here, so you can kind of like just see they're all scrunched in. These are probably hundreds of miles apart, if not more. Okay, so this was a pretty well-planned operation, probably has been going on for a while, and it finally just came into fruition. So we'll hear Trump talk about this in about 20 minutes, but let's get back to our article right here. Okay, so I kind of just put a quick update, and then here's kind of an timeline of some potential outcomes. Let me make this big screen just so we can see this clearly. Let's make this big screen real quick. Okay, so what can we expect in the next 24 to 48 hours? Probably Iran's going to hit back. And so I think I forgot what the no, exact number was, but I believe we have anywhere between 30 to 40,000 troops within range of Israeli missiles, kind of in the region that can get hit. We got open targets. Iran was not a direct threat to the United States, but they sure as hell are a direct threat to those tens of thousands of troops that are within missile range. So we just put our troops in danger. We put a lot of American citizens in danger, etc. By the way, did you guys know that something like 10% or 20% of Iran's population is Jewish? They have a very proud Jewish population. Matter of fact, they've had Jews in the country for thousands of years in Iran. Proud. I just learned this shit today. Insane. Propaganda to the max. A lot of Jews, and they're proud. They serve in the government. It's insane. Like key members of the parliament. Anyways, so Iranian retaliation, very likely. There's a lot of U.S. troops in the region that are at risk and within range. We're gonna have to watch for missiles or drone strikes in the Gulf or against Israel. In the Gulf, meaning against some of the other Arab nations in the Arabian Peninsula or the Arabian Gulf, or Israel directly, which they have been doing. So that's not a surprise that they're gonna be sending some bombs overnight. I think the casualty numbers in Israel have started to pile up. I think there's something like 400 or 500 dead Israelis so far from those strikes. So like this whole idea that the strikes into Israel have been minimal is not true at all. They have been very significant. There's probably a bigger toll there than there has been throughout the duration of the war on the Israeli side. I mean, okay. So in the next 3 to 7 days, what do we expect? Is United Nations Security Council? They're going to host an emergency session, which was already expected. They're going to be talking about potential sanctions, condemnation, or resolution proposals. Here's how the UN Security Council really works. There are permanent members of the UN Security Council. So it's like the US, France, UK. Okay, every country, once you have a seat on the Security Council, it's there permanently. So you're like a lifetime member. And the G7 kind of uses this as an opportunity to kick out some of the people that they don't like. And so China and some of the bigger countries, they don't really have what's called the veto authority, which is that the entire UN can vote on a resolution to do something. And then one of the the Security Council members can veto that. So they kind of have that authority. I think that whatever resolution comes out of the Security Council, it's not going to be sufficient because the US, just like Iraq, just like Afghanistan, just like the support for Gaza, just like the Ukraine war, all of these things had UN resolutions against them, but the US will veto it, will be sometimes the only one out of 190 countries to vote against a certain. The world does not fucking like America right now, or ever. The abuse of the dollar, the abuse of the military power, and the abuse of the political apparatus, the geopolitical apparatus with the UN, the IMF, the World Bank, sort of subjugating everyone to US dollar debt. The rest of the world's not that happy. They'd be like, oh, there's a lot of this sort of like geopolitical conflict, and they're attacking America. They hate us because we're free. Or maybe it's the bastardization of the New World Order system that we've had since World War II. Just completely bastardized it. Anyways, so in the next 3 to 7 days, there's going to be a UN Security Council resolution. There's going to be UN Security Council emergency meeting. Nothing's going to happen. They're probably going to like say bad America, bad. This is the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Agency. It's like the Atomic Energy Agency, which is the regulatory authority that oversees any nuclear programs around the world. Number one, to make sure they're safe and up to standards. Number two, to make sure they're not being enriched for weapons programs. They're the ones who said that Iran doesn't have nuclear or weapons grade uranium. So up to 60%, I think like up to about 40% from what I've read, enriched uranium is about as much as you would ever need for like a civilian purpose. And then once you get above that, it gets sketchy, but 90% is where you get weapons grade. They're not at 90%, they're at 60. And the IAEA is the one that released that sort of summary that said what they have. So they're not a threat right now. This is what I don't understand, is why we had to do this now and get ourselves involved in this now, even though there was no immediate threat. All right. So the IAEA just released another summary about June 15th or June 18th, I'm sorry, like 3 days ago, where they were warning against escalations. And here's exactly word for word what they said. The IAEA has consistently underlined that this is quote unquote, armed attacks on nuclear facilities could result in radioactive releases with grave consequences. Bombing nuclear facilities could result in radioactive release with grave consequences within and beyond the boundaries of the state that's been attacked. They also said any armed attack on or threat, any armed attack on and threat against nuclear facilities devoted to peaceful purposes constitutes a violation of the principles of the UN Charter, international law, and the statute of the agency. You can't just bomb peaceful nuclear sites. Now, 60%, is that peaceful? We don't know, but that's the whole point. If it was weapons grade uranium, we would know. Then we probably should attack. Or if they get close to 90%, now it's a problem. 60%, we were in the middle of negotiations. Now, if there's something that we don't know, maybe Trump will let us in on the secret or in on the joke at 10 p.m. Dude, it literally sounds like there's bombs going on outside. It's not even July 4th. What the fuck are people doing fireworks for? This is crazy. It's like, it's June 21st or something. He said markets are going to drop. I disapprove of this strongly. Me and you both, Ryan. I have this whole section at the bottom here for why the strikes don't serve U.S. interest, why these strikes are not necessary, why this isn't a war that I voted for as one of Trump's supporters. But let's talk about the different implications first after we go through the timeline. So in the next coming weeks, what to expect, the IAEA, the inspectors are going to be allowed back in, or they may be allowed back in to go and kind of assess the damages and the spillover of the nuclear waste. Satellite images and intelligence will determine the real damage to Fordo and really tell us if they've hit their number one enrichment facility. Now, in Q3 and Q4 of this year, talks of a regional arms race may escalate, meaning that they're actually going to be like, if the Iranians didn't think they needed a nuclear weapon before this, getting bombed out for no fucking reason after like they could have enriched this uranium before, especially under the Biden administration. But they were trying not to seem as if they were escalating the arms race. They didn't want to seem like they were being hyper aggressive, and so they were being more reserved. At least this is sort of my assessment here, is that they really could have moved faster on this program. But they're like, dude, I don't want to piss off. I don't want to let get the world scared and be like, oh, Iran's got a nuke, so let us hold back on our nuclear enrichment, projects. But now this is going to accelerate the arms race if diplomacy collapses and Iran shifts fully towards weaponization. If they didn't think they needed a nuke before, they probably think they need a nuke now. And I don't know if you guys remember, even if they give up the nuclear program, I don't know if you guys remember what happened in Libya with Gaddafi. They said Gaddafi had weapons of mass destruction. I believe Gaddafi gave up his nuclear weapons program, and then they killed him. They fed him to the streets. They sodomized him to death and then dragged his body around for like 11 days on the streets. You can play by the rules and still get kicked. So the Iranians are probably looking at that shit like, dude, what is the incentive of us ending this program? We're gonna get bombed to shit. At least if we're in the process of having a program, people are treating us a little bit differently. So we're gonna start to see an escalation now, because if they didn't think they needed one before, now they do. Now, operational damage, they're hit. I'm not gonna go. You guys can read the full thing. I'm gonna try and find some very specific points here. Okay, the legal and diplomatic fallout. This part's important. The IAEA explicitly states that these strikes violate international law under the UN Charter. The Charter. And, Lord have mercy. Let me try this again. The IAEA explicitly states that these strikes violate international law under the UN Charter principles and the past IAEA resolutions. This provides Iran with strong legal ground in the future UN or ICJ proceedings. That's the International Court of Justice, which is part of the Security Council. It's part of the UN. It's usually where the war crimes tribunals and things like that take place. And so it's going to give them a pretty strong argument to be like, but then again, legal arguments haven't worked in the UN. The UN has been the most useless organization in the world. It hasn't stopped, helped, supported, given aid or anything to any conflict in like the past 35 years, even though they've tried, not for the lack of trying. Like I said, you have 185 countries that'll vote, for example, to send aid into Gaza. And then you'll have the US and then like Luxembourg and like the Eastern Pacific Islands of Mauritius or some, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that. You'll have, the islands of Madagascar, the Maori Islands, the Samoan Islands, that's who will vote on the US side. And then you'll have not I didn't want to throw the fucking Samoans and the Tongans in there like that. But anyways, you'll have like 4 Pacific Island countries in the US versus 190 fucking countries. And so the ICJ, there's a warrant out for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu right now for war crimes. And he's like doing a world tour in Europe and in the US. So ICJ, complete fucking joke. Nuclear safety threat. This one's what we just discussed in the IAEA. The Director General Grossi warns that the uranium present across multiple sites, any future attack could trigger an uncontrollable radiological event. People, we saw fucking the Chernobyl movie. We saw Chernobyl, right? I saw Chernobyl, kind of. I saw clips. I saw clips. This shit was fucked up. There was a lot of nuclear waste. People couldn't go there for what? There's frogs with 5 eyes and shit. That's not what we want. And so I don't know how big the threat is. I guess the IAEA has to go and do another inspection in if it's allowed. Like, I don't even know how they're going to be able to go into the middle of this war zone right now if this thing escalates. The IAEA won't be able to go in there and confirm if there's been full damage. What if they got the wrong sites? And then they just caught like a couple duds that were dummy sites that were kind of, they had moved their operations in the meantime. They left the dummy sites open like Fordo, and then Fordo gets hit, but they have like an underground facility. I don't fucking know. I assume they've been planning this shit for a while. I'm talking about the Iranians specifically. Both sides have been planning this for a while. You don't go there and take out all their nuclear facilities unless you've had your finger on the trigger for a while, just looking at your boss saying, "Can we bomb them now?" And for the last 3 presidents, they've said no. And now it's actually happening. Okay. Strategic pressures. Let's see. Full coordination. Yeah, these bunker busters, I believe it was the GBU 57s, these massive ordnance penetrators, these 30,000-pound bombs that are dropped from these B-2 stealth bombers, these extremely advanced planes. And so I guess the US military was the only one with the capacity to reach those underground facilities. Escalation risk, Trump threatens Iran's supreme leader directly and declares a complete and total control of the skies. Dude, Iran's retaliation is almost certain. Potential targets include U.S. bases in Iraq, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the Red Sea shipping lanes. Now, we were bombing the Houthis like 6 months ago, 3 months ago, for fuck's sake, because of disruptions to the Red Sea shipping lanes and its effect on supply chains, its effect on prices and consumer goods in the US. So if there's another disruption here, inflation risks get real very quickly. Possibility of asymmetric warfare, so there's proxy militia, cyber attacks, and Gulf shipping sabotages. Those are kind of like the three main risks that I kind of identified as like, even though Hezbollah and some of the other groups have vowed to stay out of this conflict, they're like, dude, we got our asses kicked already. Your problem now, which is huge because I think that everybody considers these proxy groups to be at the behest of the Iranian government, when in reality they're funded by the Iranian government because they have, let's say, a similar goal, like the goal of having a military presence on the border of Israel, like Hezbollah does. That's in Iran's best interest. But are they leading every charge? I don't believe so. And I think this is kind of showing that, where if your funder, if like your patron, if we're a client state of yours or we're a client group of yours and you get into trouble, it's kind of on us to go and help. Like, we're supposed to go support, like the Azov battalion in the Russia-Ukraine war. But they're all saying they're going to stay out of this. So I actually don't think the escalation risk is as big as we think. But if the Houthis are going to start to get involved in the Red Sea shipping lanes and kind of escalate this conflict as if they haven't been bombed enough, proxy militia warfare could start to escalate. Maybe Hezbollah does get involved and actually go across the border into Israel. Kind of now Israel's fighting a two-front war. It'd be pretty bad. Cyber attacks, we've been dealing with that all day. Who's gotten 50 fucking spam calls today from China? I did. Answered every one of them too. They got my shit floating around the dark web. Picked up that phone mad quick. Okay. Okay, so why this doesn't serve the US interest? Everyone's like, well, Roy, Iran bad because Talking Face on the news said Iran bad. I get it. You're fucking brainwashed. This is your wake-up call. The IAEA did not report evidence that Iran was actively weaponizing the uranium. The enrichment is up to 60%. And okay, look, let's be real about this. Iran going from 3.5% up to 60%, pretty fucking sketchy. What are you doing with 60% enriched uranium? Fucking what are you doing? Making toothpaste? Fucking, you got like a nuclear energy system? They might, but they don't. So it's a red flag. They're headed there. Now, what I was saying earlier is they could have enriched it up to 90%, which is weapons grade, but they chose not to. There was a hope there of negotiations. So 90% is bomb grade. We're a little bit short of that. Now, the latest IAEA report emphasized containment, not crisis. So Iran is not at a crisis point of danger, but they do need to be contained and rein back in because they're headed in a direction of full weaponized enrichment. Okay. The IAEA explicitly states there was no imminent nuclear launch risk. Those planes came through Guam. James, keep us posted, bro. You got first eyes on the ground at this point. Isn't Guam? I mean, you told me Guam is like just a giant gas station for the military or for the Navy or somebody. Pretty fun stuff. So I guess you get to see a lot of the action live. The preemptive strikes without a smoking gun risks U.S. credibility, and it opens the door to forever wars based on speculation. That's the whole point of this, is Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, all of these conflicts that we spent 15, 20, 25 years in these countries were because of a speculative risk that, let's say, Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, right? Or Gaddafi was going to take over the entire Middle East. Or we got to go do nation building in Afghanistan and then just hand the fucking keys back to the Taliban. No more wars, trillions of dollars. Tens of thousands of US troops dead. More troops have committed suicide after coming home from these wars than were killed in battle. They did shit that was unforgivable. For literally for nothing, for corporations, for money, for the global war machine apparatus between the intelligence agencies, the intelligence paramilitary contractors, between the fucking the consultant class, between the NGOs, between all the fraud and the corruption and all the multinational business interests that really drove these wars. Our finest young men went out there and died. They sent them out there to die for nothing. They came home fucked up. All right. We don't need more of that. We don't need the next generation of young men completely fucked and fucking up the next generation of greatness in America. We need leaders. We need protectors. We need people to maintain society here. That's why society fell off. We got all this dumb shit. You see society, where does society go? All the good men went, died. That's what happened. All the military, listen, that's a conversation for another day. We don't need fucking more of these wars. We don't have an exit strategy. Reason number two, why the fuck this is not in America's best interest. Trump hasn't outlined a plan beyond bomb and leave. No goals. So if there's no goals, we're going to lead to this never-ending cycle of tit for tat, where we bomb them, they bomb us, we bomb them, they bomb us, and then what? We're both just learning from each other, learning how we all do warfare. And like China's watching, Russia's watching, they're all seeing, okay, what's modern warfare look like in these conditions? And they're all just taking notes without having to drop a single bomb, without having to expend a single weapon. Okay. We can endanger another reason why, without a clear goal, this is going to be dangerous, is because now we're just endangering United States troops in Iraq, Syria, Bahrain, Qatar, anywhere that is kind of adversarial to the US or that we have bases in now. Syria and Iraq, very dangerous places for US troops right now because of the proximity to this conflict. Qatar, we have our largest military base in Qatar. And so there's a lot of target area there. In Bahrain, it's kind of in the middle of all the conflict areas. It hasn't really taken a side in a big sense, but there's still bases there that can get hit, and just out of proximity, it's in danger. Plus, this could drag us into a broader regional conflict. Okay, Hezbollah, Houthis, and other Iranian proxies, etc. This also weakens America's global standing. That's the last reason. Is this strike violates international law? As I said before, the IAEA was citing, I think it was a UN resolution, the General Council resolution. I'm trying to read this in fucking resolution terms. So this says the UN resolution, General Council, that's the General Council meeting number, resolution 533. Okay, so this is the exact international law that states that you cannot just bomb not a peaceful, but a non-adversarial, or I guess non like dangerous facility. So if there is a nuclear facility that's being used for civilian purposes, then attacking it is a breach of international law according to Resolution 533 over here. Okay? It undermines the US's ability and claim to have the moral high ground, which is kind of the whole thing, right? And this is exactly what happened in the US with the Democrats, is they kept trying to be like the moral authority or try to have some sort of like moral righteousness. And then they would go do some fucked up shit, which would completely undermine their high horse standing to look down and say, "Oh, look, Trump is pardoning all of his friends and family." And then all this stuff gets released about all of like the last minute pardons that may not have been signed by Biden, whatever. And it just takes away all the ammo from you being able to claim that you're the moral authority on this thing now, because look at the fucking shadiness that you're involved in, etc. So that's what's going to happen is the U.S. will try to go around and try to claim moral superiority. And then someone's going to point out, hey, but what about you guys just bombed a sovereign nation without any aggression of attack under claims of weapons of mass destruction? Kind of sounds like fucking Iraq all over again. Anyone here who's old enough, just this is copy and paste. This is the same fucking playbook they're using. I wasn't even old enough for this. I'm just going back and kind of re-educating myself on everything that's happened since then. Since the Iraq War, kind of how they pushed it, the propaganda machine, those who stood up against the war and what they were called, and how people were just attacking the shit out of them at all times, how the media apparatus was bought and paid for by the war machine, and so every channel was sort of like sounding the war drums. This is copy and paste. Except we're not fucking retarded anymore, and we see through the lies. And Trump needs to get his head out of his ass. This 10 p.m. Oh, he should be speaking right now. Actually, he better have a good fucking explanation for this. Beyond, okay, that's cool that you guys have worries and whatnot, but Iran can't get a bomb. Motherfucker, we know Iran can't get a bomb. Why now? Why there? And why are we doing this without any provocation? Why did we do this in the middle of negotiations? 2 days before we're supposed to have a sit down meeting with Iran. Why? And he's not going to answer any of this shit. He's going to sit there and scoff at a reporter and be like, "Oh, the fake news over here, fake news." Look, the fake news shit was cool when we were kind of like breaking the apparatus of the propagandist media machine that exists. This is real shit now. We need fucking answers. Where the fuck are the Epstein files? All right, see if let's see if we got see if we got this slide. I'm sorry, I'm animated. Where the fuck is the Epstein file? Yeah, he done deported 23,000 people. And half of them were the wrong people. Whitehouse.gov. So it's not streaming on whitehouse.gov. Da, 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 da. Where would he be streaming it? Let's go to YouTube. Trump live. Let's see if he's doing the press conference. Oh, the White House on YouTube.
Or there will be
There we go.
tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon.
8 a.m.
And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
How much did we miss? Who's this third guy? Is that Witkoff? Was that Steve Witkoff in the third? We got Marco Rubio. We got JD Vance. Who was the third guy? Okay, what did I miss? That was like 2 minutes, bro. Was that just 2 minutes? That's it? World War III. Damn near started World War III. Talking about God bless the Middle East. He was trying to before it got bombed.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's Pete Hegseth. Dude, you got the Warhawk platoon. You got fucking Peter Thiel's lapdog over here from Palantir. By the way, Palantir, if you guys haven't looked up the story yet, they've built a new surveillance system to track everybody and everything. And it's not like the old tech bros who designed the system. This is the smartest of the smartest, the most devious of the most devious, and the most capable fucking comic book villain-esque technologists. Peter Thiel. And I love Peter Thiel. I sure as fuck would not trust him running the next surveillance system, running Eagle Eye, right? Have you guys ever seen the movie Eagle Eye? Yeah, Palantir just built that. Okay. And so you have his lapdog here, JD Vance. JD Vance will be probably in the running for the next president. And then he will get backing from all the tech bros if there isn't a bifurcation there. Marco Rubio has been a war hawk this entire time. Look, if Trump didn't learn shit from his first term, having fucking Marco Rubio on your team, in your cabinet, like obviously he's learned fucking nothing. Pete Hegseth, he's a moron. But I actually think that what he's doing is super important and bringing fighting the mindset, the war fighting mindset back to our military. Not because we want to be aggressively out there fighting useless wars. He understands veterans. He understands veterans' problems. He understands the people that came back from these wars fucked up. And I think that Pete Hegseth actually has his finger on the pulse of how destructive these wars can be. But I do think he's been sidelined and silenced during this process because I feel like he'd be the first person to step up and say, no, we're not going into another forever war in the Middle East. And so either Trump expects this to be a very surgical operation in and out with no issues because we don't expect to have boots on the ground. Dude, Pete Hegseth looked like he's fucking zapped out of his biscuit right now. Dude, he's staring. If you know, you know. Then we know who left that bag in the White House that one time, bro. Maybe it wasn't Hunter Biden, bro. Maybe it was Pete Hegseth, bro.
A short time ago, the U.S. military
He said, let me get off
carried
the
out
camera real quick.
massive precision.
Dude, you got fucking Marco Rubio behind you, just such a buzzkill. Like, I actually liked Rubio for a little bit, but this has just become, dude, we fucked up so bad. Fam, we really got finessed. We got Scott Bessent as our Treasury Secretary. We fucked up. Steve Witkoff was probably the best decision. Tulsi Gabbard, we had high hopes for her. Where is she? Tulsi Gabbard hasn't said a word this whole time. She's the director of national intelligence. Give us some intelligence about our national shit. You feel me? Where's RFK? RFK, oh, we banned Yellow 5. Yeah, you and every other you're like 5 years too late. Where is RFK? You feel me? So like all of like the good nominations that we've had have completely been sidelined. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy was probably one of the smartest people that we've had. Right? He said Americans are lazy and that's why Indians are running the shit and everybody like fucking lost their mind. But we fucking know the CEO of every US Fortune 500 company is Indian. Let's not sit here and fucking pretend like this is a fucking some mad secret. Look, hey, he said that they're fucking harder working than us. Yeah, they did, and they kicked his ass out. And then Elon Musk kicked his ass out, trying to smear him in the fucking news. Now Trump is beefing with the top 6 MAGA media personalities. Whether it's he's not really beefing with these folks, but they're all on the opposite side of this war. Charlie Kirk does not want this war, and he's the #1 political commentator on the conservative side. The second would be Tucker Carlson. He's against this too. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the #1 supporter in the Senate, or is she in the Congress? The #1 supporter for MAGA. She's not on board with this at all. You go down the list, nobody's on board with this. And Trump is just like, well, I'm MAGA, not you. So I get to decide what we should and shouldn't do. This is going to split the Republican Party. This is going to split the MAGA movement in half. This Israel-Iran issue is going to be the make or break. I don't think anything else is as consequential, in my honest opinion. Okay, so that's what I got. Let's actually finish the rest of this. I got carried away here. Let me see. What's good, bro? Yeah, I heard that too. I disapprove of this strongly. Oil and gold rise. Yep. Poor Gaddafi. He got fucked up. Same thing happened to Iraq. Yep. Yahoo is the real king of the U.S. Every U.S. president bowed down to him. Not really. It's actually the other way around. He's speaking. He's live. He was just reading. It's scripted. Yep. That was the Secretary of Defense got that. How do you stay on top of all this news? You get on these streams. You take notes. I speak fast. You gotta slow it down. I just gave out so much fucking game, it would blow your mind. I'm gonna have to go, watch this back and figure out what the fuck I just said. I know I got myself in trouble. I know I pissed off at least half the audience. That's for damn sure. Trump said he doesn't care what the head of national intelligence has to say. I know, bro. Trump we got fucked, dude. We got fucked. We got lied to. We got sold the bill of goods. I'm gonna give him time. It's still early. All right, undoing all this shit. But I'm starting to get that buyer's regret, the buyer's remorse. where you're driving the car off the lot, and during the test drive, it was fucking amazing. In the showroom, it was phenomenal. Dude, you put 10 extra miles on that bitch. After, you didn't change the oil, you were 10 miles late to the oil change, and now you're fucking hearing, you know, seals noises, from under the car. And it sounds like a seal having a conversation with a cat, and the cat's screaming, and the car is fucked up. You're saying, damn, I shouldn't have bought this car when the guy said, oh, no, no, no insurance, no problem. I shouldn't have fucking listened. The guy was sleazy. I was kicking the tires. And he said, oh, no credit score, no fucking problem. He had a New York thing going on. I believed him. And now we're sitting here with this bullshit, these lies. Pete Hegseth zapped out of his goddamn mind. You guys know an OT, that Mexican OT said, I keep an onion in my pocket, keep an onion, whatever the fuck he said, that's Pete Hegseth.
And strikes on the three.
Let's run this back. They walked out like the Power Rangers. They walked out.
Thank you very much.
Bro, this is the table of bro. This is like the class. I'm sorry, this is the last thing I'll say. Did you guys know like the class president? Now maybe your class president at the time was cool. Mine wasn't. Right? He wasn't fucking cool. He was a snitch. He was snitching. He said, "Oh, teacher, you forgot to give us homework." That was that kid. That's Marco Rubio. These are these guys. All these guys were, except for Marco Rubio, these guys were partying. Fucking JD Vance and Pete Hegseth. I think they went to Stanford, Columbia, Harvard, one of those, or all of them. I think they ended up getting like a master's somewhere. Vance and Hegseth, I think they were at the top of their class at Princeton and at Harvard. Like these are super smart guys. They're definitely, partiers. But this is not the squad you want, bro.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise.
Nobody has heard those names for years. All right. This is the American geography fucking test. Whenever we bomb, Americans don't find out about a place until we bomb the shit out of it. And now everybody's a fucking political expert on it. Right? Nobody fucking knows. Still, I showed you all the map. Still can't tell me where it is.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks.
How rich is it for the U.S. to call Iran the bully of the Middle East? How rich is it for the U.S. to call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism? I think Dave Smith was saying this 2 days ago. Is there a fucking like ranking list of how much we're paying all of these different groups? Like, how much have we funded the Taliban? How much have we funded Al Qaeda? How much have we funded all of these groups? If there's like a ranking list of like who's the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, it'd be hard pressed to think that Iran was at the top. Maybe they're top 4. I am very hard pressed to think that they are #1. This is bullshit propaganda. I promise you guys this. The numbers will come out of how much they were funding Hamas, the Houthis, and I guess it was like something in the tune of 100 million a year, 150. It's a lot of money. How much is the U.S. spending to bomb tens of thousands of kids in Gaza through a proxy? Israel bombing kids, no bueno. Terrorism. What the fuck? The hypocrisy is really starting to piss me off.
Attacks would be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their.
We invaded Iraq. walked in there with for no fucking. It was the wrong country. It was like some guy shot your wife. Okay, very very good reason to be angry. Don't get me wrong. You go to the wrong house, the wrong neighborhood, fuck up the neighborhood. Now these guys are mad at you. They're trying to come get you. He said, I wonder why they're mad at us. It's all because of Iran. Dude, we killed 1 million Iraqis for no fucking reason. They had no weapons of mass destruction, and they weren't the ones that did 9/11. And the terrorists weren't there. They were in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We literally killed 1 million innocent humans for no fucking reason. Created ISIS, trained and funded them to fight Al Qaeda, and then they turned on us. You guys understand why these countries don't like America? We showed up to their doorstep unannounced and killed them in their homes, playing with their families and having dinner with their families. That would turn all of us into terrorists.
Hate in particular.
Fucking newsflash.
So many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu.
Oh, God.
We worked
Well, at least now we know what this is all about.
As a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israel.
Erasing this horrible threat to Israel. He didn't say shit about erasing this horrible threat to the United States. This is the president of the United fucking States. Let me run this back, bro. I don't think I heard this correctly. Maybe I got to clean my ears out.
Qasem Soleimani.
And by the way, I was against him taking out Soleimani too.
I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli.
What the fuck does this have to do with the U.S. now? So we're endangering all the troops, the 40,000 troops I told you guys that are in Bahrain, that are in Qatar, that are in the Middle East and Iraq, Syria, and Israel. We put them in danger, but he's not saying that we've eliminated a direct threat to the United States. He's saying, well, I'm glad that we've eliminated this threat to Israel. There was no immediate reason to do this right now. So now we've pissed off a whole bunch of people at the U.S. There will be terrorist groups created because of this. Bombs came out the sky and fucked up your entire country. You're looking at this like, what the fuck did we do? Your government lies to you just like everybody else. If you're an Iranian, your government's lying to you just like these sons of bitches lying to us. So they're just getting sold propaganda, but all they see is American missiles coming out the sky. Say, what the fuck the Americans want? If they didn't hate us before this, guess what? They hate us now. And there's going to be retaliation. And guess what? There's going to be a reason for us to send troops and to start a forever war. To feed the military-industrial complex. They'll be like, well, they bombed U.S. troops. Of course we have to send a few troops in there. And this is how this shit starts.
Military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight and all of the United States, the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raising Cane, spectacular general,
Raising Cane,
and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely fucking abysmal. These people are out of their goddamn minds. Okay. Why this isn't, let's finish this off with my last point here, because I guess this is very perfect. Why this isn't what Trump's base voted for? So America first does not mean endless wars. One of the foundational principles of his campaign was to end the forever wars. Dude, let me actually show you guys. Let me see if there's a montage. Trump versus Bush on Iraq. Dude, let me show you guys this. Let me show you the stark difference in where we were and where we are now. Look at this.
When you said that George W. Bush, which was our last Republican
I'm
president,
gonna show you guys two clips. They're each like a couple of minutes. Just
a man I respect greatly, a person that we really fought for when he was up against a lot of pressure, that he lied to get us in the war in Iraq. That stung me very deeply.
Okay.
I don't believe that. I'm just wondering, given some time passing, perhaps you've rethought that. Would you?
This guy's a fan of Bush. This is probably how people who are fans of Trump are going to talk in like 10 years. Like, yeah, you know, you said that Trump was a giant fraud about this, and that kind of hurt. Like, I really believe in Trump. Like, these guys really believed George Bush. They thought he was telling the truth. Or maybe. I don't know who the fuck this
Would be
guy is.
willing to rethink that?
Well, a lot of people agree with what I said, and I'm not talking about lying. I'm not talking about not lying. Nobody really knows why we went into Iraq. The Iraqis did not knock down. It was not Saddam Hussein that knocked down the World Trade Center. Okay,
that's just what you said was they lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction, and there were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass.
Well, there are a lot of people that think that. There were a lot of people that think, look, bottom line, there were no weapons of mass destruction. They said there are weapons of mass destruction. I was against the war when it started.
Do you think the president of the United States, George W. Bush, lied?
Well, look, I'm not going to get you a vote, but that's okay.
I'm just giving you another shot at it.
I'll tell you very simply. It may have been the worst decision going into Iraq, may have been the worst decision anybody has made, any president has made in the history of this country. That's how bad it is.
Right? So now Iran, a country twice the fucking size. It's the oldest empire. The Persian Empire is the oldest empire in the world. I think it spans longer than 4,000 years old. The longest running empire. They've been around for a long fucking time. They have history there. A lot of history there. He said that going into Iraq was the dumbest shit we ever did. So is going into Iran.
Okay. Here's what happens. We have spent $2 trillion in Iraq and fighting Iraq. 2 trillion. 2 trillion. Thousands of lives, right? We have wounded warriors who I love all over the place. These are the most incredible. These are braver than all of us in this room put together. I look at the attitude and I work with them, and these are great people. We got nothing. We have nothing. We're not even there. We can't even make a phone call right now.
But to his question,
same thing. It's not like we've gotten closer with negotiations with Iran after this bomb. We're not going to get anything out of this. We just used up bunker busters. How expensive were those? You guys understand where this is going? Okay, so here's one more clip. It's Trump and Jeb Bush, which is George Bush's brother, going back and forth about the Iraq war. This is the quote that they were referencing. And just look at the stark difference between Trump's attitude then, which is a big reason for why people support him, and then his attitude in that bullshit press conference where he was just reading off of a fucking script saying that I'm glad that we've eliminated the threat against Israel. And like no other country could have done this. And he sort of flexed the B-2 bombers. And then he said, God bless America. What the hell was that? Look at the stark difference. Look at this guy.
On Monday, George W. Bush will campaign in South Carolina for his brother. As you said tonight, and you've often said, the Iraq war and your opposition to it was a sign of your good judgment. In 2008, in an interview with Wolf Blitzer, talking about President George W. Bush's conduct of the war, you said you were surprised that Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi didn't try to impeach him. You said, quote, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing, close quote. When you were asked what you meant by that, you said, for the war. For the war. He lied. He got us into the war with lies. Do you still believe President Bush should be impeached, should have been
First of all, I
impeached?
have to say, as a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world. I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have this. So let me just tell you.
He's referring to the fact that most of the people in the crowds were the special interest lobby, the people who paid for most of those guys. You guys look at the eyes. This is American royalty over here, like the kind of the Trump family, and everybody's just like staring them down. This was Trump against the machine.
I
Right
get
here.
along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake. All right. Now you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say. And he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
This is fucking Trump. This is Trump. He said he went back and forth before his people told him what to say. Before they were like, all right, you just say it was a mistake. It's probably better politically. He was cooking the machine. He was exposing the machine and just letting it all out. And then he got compromised. Something has happened to Trump since he's been in office this time. He's not the same person. And I don't want to blame age. The guy is fucking 80 years old. Like this was 10 years ago, so I guess he was 10 years sharper. But dude, from anti-war, this was a big fat mistake, not wanting to waste any American troops, any American money, or any American attention on anything that's not our borders, the fentanyl crisis, the fact that there's homeless people within 2 miles of Congress, that the congressmen and senators have to walk over on the way to work. But we're sitting here fucking worried about Israel's problems. This doesn't make any sense. But now he is sold out to the war hawks. Yeah, John Bolton is gone. Thank God, right? Yes, we have other war hawks like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. They're gone. Nikki Haley, thank the Lord that she's not involved in the executive government. Lindsey Graham's dumbass, he just over there making circus noises on TV. That's fine. The war machine party, the war hawks are kind of over there. But now we have Marco Rubio and we have JD Vance, who are both kind of, now I wouldn't say war hawks, but they're kind of pro-war. We have Stephen Miller, pro-war. The only people who really aren't, I would guess, are like Witkoff and dude, I'm hard-pressed to find non-war hawks. Oh, and Tulsi Gabbard, who's been silenced. Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard are the two people that I would expect to be in Trump's ear telling him that this is a bad idea. Because they've both been to war, they both know a bunch of wounded warriors, they both know the physical and psychological distress these people come back with, and they just don't want anything that's not absolutely necessary. If we get attacked today, we rally the troops and we go to fucking get them. And we get the right people, hopefully. But this preemptive war, this war of choice is what it's called. It's not a war of aggression, it's not a war of necessity, it's called a war of choice. And wars of choice are optional. So we're optionally putting ourselves at risk for no fucking reason. All right, everybody, take it easy. I appreciate y'all hopping on. James, everybody, thank you guys for hopping on. We got Roman, James, Sandra, Devaney, Carlos. Appreciate you guys. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, drop a like and subscribe, damn it. We're going to keep you guys posted on all of this. Obviously, a lot of people, it looks like Charlie Kirk is live right now. It looks like even Patrick Bet-David is live right now. I'm going to be watching kind of some of the content out just to get a better look. I don't give a fuck actually what PBD's crew has to say about this. I'll be honest. Vinny, I like his perspective. Everybody else is a stooge. Charlie Kirk, I take seriously. I have respect for Charlie Kirk. And I'm hoping that he's the voice of reason right now, him and Tucker Carlson. Because they are look, 70,000 people watching Charlie and almost 95,000 people watching PBD. Damn, PBD. Almost 100,000 live viewers. Damn. Shitting on the game. It's like 10 times CNN's live viewership, maybe more. Fucking hell, dude. Okay. Well, hopefully these voices are going to be the most common. You guys keep telling people around you that we don't want to be in fucking war. When people bring this up and say, well, the news lady says the sound on the machine said that we have to go to war because Iran bad. Hopefully you guys are now equipped with some things in your
No,
utility belt. And you guys are equipped with at least some facts and some perspectives in your utility belt to be able to engage or to be able to contribute to some of these conversations, at least by asking meaningful questions. Be like, well, are you sure we need to be there? Like, how much nuclear bombs does Iran have? Like, just ask the right questions and you'll start to see people completely crumble in their understanding of like why the fuck we're even doing this. And hopefully that starts to wake a lot of people up. Okay. No wars. Take it easy, y'all. I'll see you guys bright and actually 7 p.m. Eastern time for the Sunday market outlook. We'll cover all this and we'll obviously see the impact on gold, oil, stocks, and cryptos as this news continues to develop. Expect a massive gap at the market open. It's the only promise I'm going to give you. There will be a massive gap because of all the over the weekend orders that are being put in that it will reflect at the market open. Okay. Happy and safe trading, everybody, tomorrow. We'll see you guys for the Sunday outlook. Leave a like and subscribe and check out the full article